Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its meeting held on January 5th, 2016. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolution was within 7 days of passage. The schedule was sent to the Verona City Grove Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted in each of Verona's 6 schools, the board office, and town hall. This posting was also sent to the newspapers, all SEA presidents, and SEA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under consent agenda format. Any board member has a right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public present. Mr. Day?
Here.
Mrs. Bernardino?
Here.
Mrs. Fresky? Here. Mr. Enos?
Present.
Mr. Quattrochi?
Here. Okay, welcome to our one and only meeting for the month of December. During the holiday period, the board meets tonight, and then our next meeting will be on Tuesday, January 3rd, and that'll be a board reorganization meeting and swearing in. We don't have anybody, we have one person in the public tonight. Sally, any public comment or question?
I have no public comment.
Reserving his comments for a couple of weeks. We have one presenter tonight. We have Mr. Merkler, our Director of Athletics at VHS, to do our full sports round.
Thank you for that rousing ovation. So it was a terrific fall season for our Verona athletics program. We had many great individual and team accomplishments, and a lot of people would say it was a very historical season. We captured a group championship, 2 sectional titles, a county championship, and not to mention we got to actually play on Salito Field, which was really a special occasion for all those involved. So I'm going to wrap up the season, just give you guys an idea of what actually happened this fall with all our teams. So our cheerleading team did a great job all season, supported our football team through thick and thin, the heat, the cold, but they also did a great job of raising money for charity. They competed at Bloomfield High School as part of the Cheer for a Cure fundraiser, which raised money for breast cancer research. And they also were part of the Breast Cancer Awareness Showcase, which was held here at Verona, and that raised over $2,000 for Manette's Angels Foundation. So they did a great job all season with that. Our girls cross-country team took 2nd place in both the SEC Liberty Championships as well as the state sectional championships, and they also qualified for the state group championships. Our individual successes were Ava Anderson, Titiana Kanoka, and Brianna Rigney. They were all named first team All-SEC, All-Liberty Division team. Karishma Parikh and Jenica Ying were named to the 2nd team All-Liberty Division team, and Kate Ashley and Adriana Fierro were named honorable mention All-Division. Our boys cross-country team qualified 5 runners for the North 2 Group 1 state sectionals, including Captain Sean Burke, Captain Jake Parent, Andrew Siegelin, Mark Walsh, and Phil Shiver. Sophomore Amon Rosenweg medaled and placed in the top 25 at the very competitive Brett Taylor Invitational at Darlington Park. He placed in the top 10 for sophomores at the Essex County Coaches Class Meet. He was named honorable mention All-SEC Liberty Division. And then junior Mark Walsh placed in the top 25 at the SEC Championship Meet and was named honorable mention All-SEC Liberty Division. Our football team, which came off back-to-back state titles and 23 straight wins, finished the season with a 4-6 record in the first season competing in the North Jersey Super Football Conference. If you had a chance to go to a game, they competed on Salito Field and had some great performances out there, including wins over Ramsey, North Warren, Pacong, and Hillside. On the offensive side of the ball, Austin Camp and Zach Saccone were named first team All-Division. Zach Skrvanik, Kevin Kistner, and Andrew Lease were named to the 2nd team, while Brandon Cariani was named honorable mention. On the defensive side of the ball, Matt Lettieri, Chris Aldiro, Matt Saccone, and CJ Lavery were named first team All-Division. Nick Galuccio and Mike Stanisi were named 2nd team All-Division, and Matt Aldiro was named honorable mention. Our girls soccer team had a tough season, but had some great highlights as well. They were the first team to actually compete in a night game at Salito Field. And if you went to that night game, it was a double overtime 4-3 win. So it was a great job by the girls. They also ended their season on a high note with a 3-1 win over Dumont. And they also won the Sportsmanship Award for the SEC Liberty Division. Bridget Cumming was named first team All-Division. Sarah Carlucci and Anna Rosinski were named second team All-Division. And Allie Mae Madigan and Juliana Frizzi were named honorable mention All-Division. Our girls tennis team won the Super Essex Conference Liberty Division, which they went 5-0 in division. Advanced to the semifinals of the Essex County Tournament for the first time in over 32 years. Advanced their 5th straight sectional final match. And had 2 individual single players qualify for the individual state tournament for the first time in school history. Dasha Yaknis, Lexi Duhaney, and Michelle Lima all finished first team All SEC Liberty, with Dasha making second team All Group 1. Julia Camberling, Juliana Tuorto, Maggie Cusolo, and Veronica Wirtz finished second team All SEC Liberty. Megan Forrest and Alyssa Dio were honorable mention All SEC Liberty Division. And the last 2 sports, you talk about historical seasons and magical seasons. You guys had a chance to go see the boys soccer team. I mean, just had an unbelievable year. And it really was a tale of 2 seasons with them, where if you see their division includes Milburn, West Orange, Seton Hall Prep, which are all perennial powerhouses. So they started out the season 1-6, but over the next 14 games, they won 11 of the next 14. It was amazing. So their run through the state tournament, in the North 1 Group 1 final versus Wallington, Sal Basallo hits a double overtime goal with 4 minutes left to play. It was amazing. Then they go into the group semifinal where they defeat Dayton by 1-0 score. And then in the Group 1 final, the boys tied Haddonfield 1-1. So they captured the Group 1 title for the first time since 1981, back when the Steeples were the coaches. So they finished as the 2nd ranked team in Group 1, the 7th ranked team in the SEC, and 50th ranked in the state. Jack Farrell was named first team All Group 1, first team All Liberty Division. Billy Chupak was named honorable mention All Liberty Division and second team All Group 1. Tiago Quiros was named first team All Liberty. Jack Waldron was named second team All Liberty. John Tracy was named honorable mention All Liberty. And Coach Wayne Looney was named the SEC Coach of the Year by NJ.com. And then finally, our girls volleyball team finishes a record of 32-2. They won the SEC American Division title, the Essex County Championship, and the Group 1 Section B state title. They finished number 9 in the state. The 32 wins are a school record for any sport, and they won 25 consecutive matches, which is also believed to be a school record. Junior Carly Waterman was named first team All-State, the Essex County Player of the Year, first team All Group 1, first team All SEC American Division, and she also recorded her 1,000th kill on top of everything. And she's back for her senior year. Sophomore Hunter Coppola had a breakout season. She made first team All SEC American Division and second team All Group 2. Cameron Fuentes made first team All Conference and third team All Group 1. Sophomore Brooke Cooney made second team All Conference and third team All Group 1. Madison Matthews led Group 1 in sets with 522, and she was selected second team All Conference. And finally, Olivia Lucchini and Nicolette Marino were selected honorable mention All Conference. So, it was definitely an amazing season, great fall season, and really set the tone for this year. So, definitely come out for any winter events, which start this Friday. We have boys basketball is at Bloomfield, girls basketball is home. Winter track is at the Jersey City Armory, and hockey will be at South Mountain Arena. So we have an exciting winter season. Make sure you follow me at Verona Athletics, and then it'll be a great season. So thank you very much.
Any questions for Ms. Smith?
I have a question, not necessarily on the sport wrap-up, but I've been hearing public feedback on Mountain Val on the phys ed classes and that they are a lot more challenging. So do we have a new phys ed curriculum or? Speak to what's changed?
So, this summer I actually had a chance to sit down with our high school staff, myself, Mr. Miller, and then our 4 members of our high school staff, and they're very receptive and open to change and bringing on new things. And they've done a great job so far. And you talk about adding the field, and then just even having access to the gym, and then hopefully as we try to raise funds for a fitness center, they're going to keep on bringing the program up and up. So it's going to be really a great time for them. So they do a great job. It's 4 fantastic people, and it's nice to hear that.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of positive things about it.
Great.
Thank you.
And there were revisions to the curriculum this past summer.
Yes,
You
yes.
worked with the teachers and with Mr. Miller,
and start to explore what different activities we could do, how we could restructure phys ed, how we could make it more engaging, and as any evolving department, organization, continuing to look where we can move the place forward. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's 4 great people, and they do an awesome job.
awesome. Thank you.
I just want to make a quick statement, Mr. Mark. I just wanted to thank you. I know you came on board. This is your first year, and I can tell you your enthusiasm and your excitement to all the sports and the coaches is contagious. And I know when I've seen you at the events, I saw you at the Fair on the Square when we had some presentations for the teams, and I do appreciate you going above and beyond and really pushing the sports activities, coaches, with the students and the athletes and so on.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate that. And,
Thank you.
District appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Next we have a superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone. Piggybacking off of Mr. Merkler with athletics, we just, during athletic committee, we recently spoke. I just wanted to recognize the All Sports Booster Club. They recently donated a new speaker system for the gym at Verona High School. It's a portable speaker system that will be used for both the large and the smaller gym. That is valued at $3,735, and our maintenance department will be installing that in the weeks to come. And on the education front, we just recently received the PSAT scores from the PSATs that were administered to the current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. Those results just came in a few days ago. That's important not only because of having students prepare, practicing for the content and the timing for the actual SAT that they'll take as juniors and seniors, but more importantly, where we're using it is as a driver for what is called AP potential. And those PSAT scores will give us some important, meaningful data that our administrative team and our guidance counselors will be able to sit down with. Teachers will also be able to receive information and feedback. And those PSAT scores are a conversation starter, so that way we can tell kids where their potential lies as far as which courses in advanced placement they will find success. So that's been very, very helpful in having that dialogue with students and with parents during those annual conferences. Mrs. Studo will be working on facilitating some professional development sessions in January for reading and writing workshops. She spent the past few months kind of taking a pulse of the place and getting to know our Verona teachers and being in the classrooms and observing the reading and writing workshop model. And now she'll be spearheading her first professional development workshop in January. Our inquiry-based science program is doing extremely well. We just recently, a couple weeks ago, had our professional development for the last unit of study for the year, and that was in grades 1 through 4. The training happened over 4 days at different elementary schools. I had the pleasure of visiting some of those workshops. The presenter was fantastic. He was a retired teacher and supervisor of science who used to work in Michigan and New York and Pennsylvania for, I think, 35 or 36 years. Very well received by our teachers, and our teachers gave a lot of great feedback as to the quality of the sessions. The actual science instruction in the classrooms is doing really well. There's a lot of engagement with our students. The teachers are excited about it. They have the appropriate and necessary materials. The curriculum is thriving. So we're very, very proud of that progress. This is official year 1 of implementation, as last year was just a pilot program, but things seem to be going well, and we'll continue to sustain that throughout this year and beyond. For community resources, we just finalized the last 2 schools on our website update. So all of the websites for our schools and the district website are now current. And there are some, minor updates that will occur as time goes on, and adding more and more content. But all of the websites have been converted over to the new platform. And then on our committees, we started. It's been a work in progress over the past several months since September. We have 2 committees that we have spearheaded in partnership with community stakeholders. About 15 people on each committee. So the first committee is our action committee on code of conduct and respect. That meeting was held last Thursday on December 8th. Very well received. It was almost 2-hour meeting, about an hour 45 minutes, and it was very productive and constructive conversation about our strengths in the district and about areas where we see as opportunities for improvement and some of the challenges that may come along with that and how we navigate that process. So it was only the first meeting, but there was a lot of very positive conversation and constructive conversation, some really great ideas that were shared. And our next meeting will be in January. We have meetings set up on a monthly basis. The second committee is our Action Committee on Mental Health and Suicide Prevention. That meeting is going to be held this Thursday, December 15th. We have a separate committee of stakeholders, both made up of faculty and administration and parents and community members. That meeting will be held this Thursday from 3:30 to 5. We will be meeting as well on a monthly basis, and we look forward to getting a lot of great feedback. Same thing, what are we doing well? Where are the opportunities for improvement? And hearing a lot of great ideas from people on these committees. And then last but not least, the Buildings and Grounds Committee. We had an update on our construction. So with the last leg here is the construction on the lower field. Half of the field has the turf installed. It also has, I believe today was the day that they laid the final layer of crumb rubber infill. So that is all set. Weather has caused some delays. You can't really move soil around when it's saturated and it's wet. So Land Tech has told us that they have to wait until it's all dried out. What they did do today is day 1 of 2, they've laid some asphalt paving down at the lower field, so they got quite a bit of work done there today. They told us that their plan is to try to finish that up tomorrow, and then they'll have to, weather permitting, we'll work on the next leg with laying the actual last part of the turf down there. Mr. Merkler was there and visited today, and so did Mr. Trouse. Mr. Trouse shared some pictures with B&G committee as to what that the asphalt looks like. And I do have one more thing to share on the field. Last Sunday, actually probably 2 Sundays ago now, right? There was an article, an investigative article in the New Jersey Star Ledger about Field Turf, the actual Field Turf company that creates the synthetic turf. So that investigative article came out on Sunday, and prior to that, I had received news that there would be this article. The Star Ledger had made it public in a previous publication that they would be having this article coming out. So we did receive from the CEO and president of Field Turf a letter kind of explaining Field Turf's point of view about the product and years ago. I have published that letter in 2 locations on our website. It's on our main page, it's under news, right on the main page, and it's also on my superintendent page under the superintendent corner column. In addition to that, I wanted to receive verification from Field Turf. What we surmised was the case was that the product that we have been installing does not have the product called Durastine, which is part of this investigative article. We wanted to receive verification on that. So Field Turf did provide us with a letter explicitly stating that the product that we have does not have Durastine, and that product was from many years ago that they had found that it was defective. So if anybody wants to take a look at those letters, they are up on our main page and free for everybody to see. And that's it for the superintendent report. Any questions?
Yeah, just to add on to that, and I think one of the big takeaways from the letter, you can read it on your own, but for the sake of bringing it up, is that it concludes with saying, you know, if wherever there was an issue that existed, this is just to give peace of mind that someone would say, that what we did isn't defective too, right? Well, okay. That is confined to a particular location and climate, and that notwithstanding location, climate, or anything, if there was an issue, we stood by our warranty and fixed it.
Mhm.
You know, was what the letter. So that peace of mind is something that I think, you know, I just wanted to share with the community, like listening to this or hearing it, because the head of the company was very clear to say, you know, this is why it happened, we think, and that we are standing behind it. So whatever we're putting is not fulfilled, and if there was an issue, they have a history of backing up their product as well. So I have no further questions on it.
My understanding was that turf, they stopped distributing that turf in 2012, so I was 4 years ago, so.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the letter highlights some detail from the CDO, and as well, the other component in it, which is what caused the defectiveness apparently in some of these places.
All right, thank you very much. We have some committee reports. Education Committee, Special Education met yesterday. The board should have received in their shared drive the notes on that. The first thing is we did speak to the fact that there's, as this becomes more and more lengthy, Mr. Miller will annotate this a bit, where a lot of these items have now become sort of business as usual status. SGOs, training, observations, walkthroughs, SGPs, etc. are also a normal part of the process, and as long as folks are doing what they need to do, the board doesn't need to get involved into that level of detail, unless there's, of course, a topic that does raise itself. There were a couple of other points. Mr. Dionisio spoke to the PSAT results are in, so parents ought to be aware of that and take a look at that, and guidance and teachers and administrators to a degree, as appropriate, are reviewing those. There are two items right in the middle of the first page that are noteworthy. They are teacher-led initiatives. These two happen to be around STEM. By no means is that a limiting factor. These two happen to be around STEM. One is at HBW and one is at VHS. The HBW one is Ms. Hart's class created, which is 6th grade students created a Shark Tank exercise and then presented that to a panel of judges, etc. So it was a lot of fun and beneficial to everybody involved, and even other peer teachers commented on it being an amazing lesson and experience. So more of that going forward. The second one was at VHS, and that's Mr. Atkins. In one of the design classes, and there was a bit at the end of this that I'll get to that was pretty interesting. They designed wooden race cars, which I believe they've done in the past. So they designed them first with pencil, paper, then through computer, then make models out of clay, then created the cars using wood via sanders and chisels, etc., and then had to race their cars on a 61-foot track using nitrous oxide to propel the cars. So all of it is sort of old school until you get to the nitrous oxide part. The part that's interesting, though, is the winning cars, timed, ran the 61-foot track in just under 1.2 seconds. So we get the need for speed out within a classroom and not in the Verona parking lot, which is probably a beneficial thing, but just a testimony to some of the interesting things that are going on there. And then lastly, we do have a resolution number 7 tonight is on board approval of updated registration packets. Kudos to one of our administrative assistants, Lisa Torch, for putting this together. So they've updated and made it more standardized, make it easier for folks to complete, but more importantly, much easier for folks on our side to process the wealth of information that comes in on those sorts of things. On special education, it was mostly BAU type topics. There's a couple of intervention cases that are noted on there that were sort of student matters, and then we spent the remainder of the meeting going through some details of the recent contract negotiation dialogue. We had a meeting with the Teachers Association, which is our second negotiation meeting last Tuesday.
It was Tuesday last week, yes.
That's it. Any questions?
Yes, since I was not on the call, I was just wondering with Child, what's going on with Child? I just see they're discussing leadership and dissolving the 501c status.
Yeah, so Child will persist as an organization. They are going through a normal evolution of leadership changes.
Mm-hmm.
Students graduate now, and new parents become involved with younger students. The bit that's in there is about their 501c3 status, which does require some filing with the IRS every year, and that has to be maintained. Somebody has to do that. To hire somebody to do it is a bit of a cost. So the question was for them, this is their own question, whether they will pursue keeping that designation or let it expire and simply do their fundraising without that designation.
Okay, because
The
I think one of the
designation-
moms had done it herself, right? That is moving on.
Usually that's what happens, yeah. So the designation, though, is important. For example, I made in my own personal experience, I made a donation to wanted to make a donation to the music department. And it was gonna be a couple $1,000. So my company would gift match that up to some limit. But for the amount of money we're talking about, they would match it 100%. But it has to be to a not-for-profit organization. The Music Parents Association at the time was not. So what I have to do is I have to get my firm to recognize the Board of Ed itself as a not-for-profit, which took a little bit of pain and suffering and QA and all that. They finally said, okay, fine, as a one-off donation. But if you go to the registry, which is a service that we use, that lots of corporations use, there's a registry of 501c3s. And if you don't have the designation, you're just not on the list. It can be impactful for fundraising. And also for tax deduction purposes as well. But child is going to persist on. It's not a dissolution of child. It's
Okay, just a.
That's right. Did athletics meet?
Yes, we did. You guys should all have the report. Mr. Dionisio talked about the lower fields. Mr. Merkel talked about the winter sports and the kickoff and all the seasons that are taking place now. So hopefully everybody goes out and visits those particular games and events, and make sure that you go to the website, because the schedules are all posted, and I always make sure that I check the schedule so I know when I need to go to those games and I want to go to those games. Regarding some field trips coming up, the Model UN is going to be taking place on the 15th, so that's coming up this week. We're going to be going to a mock UN in New York City. Also, there's going to be a field trip for some third graders from FM Brown. They're going to be going to Ellis Island, and they'll be studying immigration. So they'll go through the process of inspection as immigrants. So I think that's a very neat event for the third graders. Regarding some coaching positions, so there's some volunteer coaches that are for approval, pending fingerprints. So they're going through the background check type scenario. So they're doing the fingerprints. One of the cool things we talked about was the potential of doing live streaming for some athletic and school events. So we're working with the NFHS to talk about live streaming and how we can do that through a broadcasting club and through a website. So that's something that I think we've tested out on a few events already, but we're going to try to make it more official and formalize that. There's also discussions about adopting Under Armour as a school uniform. So we're working with them, trying to work out some kind of discounts by using them as a preferred provider for athletic equipment and uniforms. And so Mr. Merkel will be providing us more details about that. In regards to the nursing services, they had to complete a form and survey for the county, so that's been provided to the county for review. Mr. Dionisio talked about the speaker donation, so again, thanks to the All Sports Booster Club for donating the speakers, the new speaker system for the gym. And today we'll be also voting on some of the updated regulations and policies for athletics. We just ran through those and we didn't see any issues with those particular recommendations. And that's about it. Any questions?
Jim, did pay for play happen to come up in committee?
We did not talk about that at this time.
Okay, because it's just something that keeps coming up every meeting and we need to
For
address it for
pay
budget.
for play for what we have in place now, we're talking about some new.
No, for the athletic program and co-curricular program.
Mr. Merkler and I just had like a side conversation before, and I know he had looked into some activity fees and things that other schools
Okay, 'cause we
have.
need to,
So
because typically we're waiting till like late February and then it just, kind of falls by the wayside.
yeah,
So.
so I think we can touch base and maybe have some more information on that we can bring back to the board.
And just for public clarification, I think the topic, and I think Ms. Bernardino brought this up a few meetings ago, briefly, around what some people would call pay to play. I think what we were calling looking into an actual activity fee.
Okay, that's what I would get.
Right.
right? Which, because we've talked a little bit about pay to play with our existing hockey program for many years and lacrosse program, which obviously the board has made a commitment several years ago on, fully absorbing that. The topic that was brought up several times was the activity fee. Mr. Merkler, in athletic committee a couple of weeks ago, had brought up that he's reached out to other athletic directors and started to collect information around how other districts do it, what do they charge, kind of doing a baseline, collecting as much data as possible. So when that's collected and finished, that'll be shared with the Board of Education, and then the athletic committee can discuss it, and then we'll bring it to the full board. And if the full board wants to discuss it in public session, we could obviously try to do that sooner rather than later.
Okay, so just in terms of the board meeting dates, and I'm not sure when committees are, but are we doing all committee meetings again for January 3rd? Because the next meeting after that is January 31st. So a whole month will go by if we.
Right, so the most important meetings would be the finance meeting for that January 3rd, because I think that's going to set a tempo for what subsequent topics have to be discussed by the committees, unless you feel that by the 3rd, you'll have enough topics to raise in the board.
Well, no, I think, but my point is by the 3rd, I think we should start talking about the fee, the possibility of a fee for the
Right,
co-curricular.
so two committees can take that on their agenda. One is athletics committee, should have it on their agenda already, and finance committee can talk about it.
Right, but so my point is, in terms of the calendar, is that the next time we will discuss it as in committee or as a board is January 31st, and let's call that February.
Well, no, because I think on January 3rd, as you guys work through the next couple of weeks through the budget, we had said that once we convene in January, we can set any ad hoc meetings you want to have on the budget. So we may want to have a meeting just on budget if there's enough time to do it.
Yeah, but my point is, I guess, is in terms of the committee meetings, when will they meet again to discuss? Because is it going to be the 3rd or the 31st?
So we have two meetings, so there are two things. I think the two most critical meetings are going to be athletics, to discuss this. We have a meeting, I want to say, on the schedule for, it's during the break, I think it's like January 28th perhaps. So we can take a look at that schedule. We already have that athletic committee meeting scheduled. And by then, Mr. Merkler will have the feedback from all of the other athletic directors around the districts in the area that do have the program. The other thing that we do need to have, and I don't know if we have it on the calendar yet, we should meet with finance in December, that same week as well.
Well, no, I'm going to suggest meeting with finance next week.
Okay, that's
Because
fine.
I'm away the week of the break.
So, and then I know that you're working on rolling over and taking a look at what the salary projections are going to be. We can estimate at this point, and only estimate conservatively, what our healthcare increases would potentially be, and some other variables. And I know that you reached out to the administrative team around the budget process and doing a zero-based budget, and taking a look at that so we could start to make some predictions and start the
So
conversation.
my point with the
So we had a finance meeting Friday, but we canceled it, and we have a finance meeting already scheduled for the 23rd of December. That was scheduled, right? So
Okay.
you want to change the 23rd to next week? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the calendar. One of the things we have to do is, I think we need to meet as a finance committee, because the audit's going to be presented on the 3rd, so we gotta do that.
All right, so if we don't change anything, we have a meeting set for the 23rd, which is the last day before break.
Right.
If you want to move that, then
Right,
there's that meeting.
right,
Well, we can have two. We have one next week and one.
right. So the reason why I bring up the fee schedule is because we've always talked about it in the past during budget season. We've never gotten information on it. So we've never gotten a comparison between schools
So
and
we're getting the homework done.
we've never gotten the homework done,
Right.
so.
That was started, what meeting was that? Was that October we brought that up? Ms. Bernardino? That when we started, it wasn't November, was it?
I brought it up publicly at our first November meeting.
It was after the joint meeting, that was the next meeting.
Okay, so that means a week before that is when it was on athletic agenda.
Yep.
So, we're collecting information.
I just don't want it to kind of fall by the wayside.
B&G?
This is your finale.
B&G is light. I think Mr. Dinicio covered a lot of it, and the first item we talked about was the energy savings incentives project, and that has been completed. We had the final audit, and we're just waiting for some paperwork to wrap up the process. Do you want to chime in?
I just wanted to ask when's the money coming.
Okay, it's coming soon, Cheryl.
Because
It's coming soon.
that was last month, it's coming soon.
It's in the mail.
That was last month, 30 days ago.
It's not express. So. The multipurpose field is coming along nicely. You know, obviously we are making progress based on what weather permitting. In terms of the referendum project, there are a couple items that are still outstanding, but we have a punch list in a couple of schools, specifically Verona High School, HBW, as well, that we are currently working through. Some of the projects revolve around things such as some heating work that's being done, and also some heating systems that are being finalized and balanced. Lastly, there is a room in landing where carpet had been put down on top of existing tile, and some of the tiles underneath have now come loose, so there's a need to remove the carpet, abate the tile, and then put a new subfloor down and tile on top of that as well. So that'll be being done over the holiday break. The locker refurbishing is continuing, and the stress cracks in the boys' locker room at HW still needs to be addressed, obviously, but is currently been damage has been mitigated for now.
We plan on going out, the engineers finished the planning work on that. We obviously can't do that level of work at this time because school's in session and it's safe to be in the room. That's been determined. So we'll go out to bid on that late winter and then do that work immediately once school is out of session over the summer.
Awesome. Now, one of the documents we received tonight was the plan that outlines a matrix of what's urgent and important, not urgent, not urgent. And, well, I guess you guys are only using two categories, important and urgent, got it, for parts of that matrix, but we're using two. And I was going through it, and there's things such as, if you look at 1617, that came to mind, it says, replace roofs district-wide 3 million, and that's under important but not urgent, and Cheryl says that we need to not do it out of the operations budget. Okay, but it doesn't fit into the operations budget. Clearly, for 1617, that, hasn't really been, we've discussed it, but it's an item on here, so I just think there's some updating to be done to it. And I think it would be really great, to have this document as we used to have kind of the upside down side of the budget, but.
That was developed by Steve Spartell. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember it, yeah.
So that's supposed to be.
Well, I think what's funny is it's pretty much a lot, if you go through it, some of the stuff's spot on.
Is that that's a big.
That's the five.
Yeah, we just got it.
That's from, whose document, that's from Joe
Joe Trotsky.
I think there was one before this that was like red and yellow that had been highlighted, and that was the original part of the document, and it kind of got transcribed into this form. But there's definitely some up,
So this is the document that Mr. McDevitt, our previous director of
have
facilities,
been worked on. Yep.
and it's been kind of carried over and
Yeah.
modified, and that's the spirit of it, and it will continue to get modified and added to as more needs arise. I mean, there were a couple things that are not on here that we brought up tonight.
Yeah.
In committee that need to be on here, so.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to manage, but it was really good to see the document, and I look forward to seeing it progress in the future. Because I think it's an important part of our facilities planning to know what's operational, non-operational, referendum, and capital. That's it. I don't know if I missed anything.
I have a quick question. An email came around a couple of weeks ago that one of the radiators or air blowers in one of the schools had air pipes that was disrupted. Did that get addressed?
It did. It wasn't a radiator, it was almost entirely the majority of the system. So, as you know, the reason for the referendum, one of the main reasons was because the heating system was not up to par. It was cold in many areas of the building, so a new heating system was installed. The contractors, AMCO, and they installed it in the newer edition from, was it 07, 08? We probably had the two coldest rooms in the building, or fairly cold, and you would think that that wouldn't be the case with new construction. However, the challenge was really more on the antiquated air system. When they installed this new the new heating system, it needed to be bled of the air in the system, and it took, I would say, at least 2 to 3 weeks in order to rectify the issue. So AMCO did come back in on numerous occasions. Our HVAC employee for the maintenance department here had been working on it morning, afternoon, because those were the two peak areas. So when the heat kicked on in the morning, the heating system would start knocking because of the amount of airflow in the system. So they had to add some valves throughout the building in order to release that air. And then when the system would shut off again in the afternoon, more of that knocking as well. And that knocking kind of moved around throughout the building. I know we heard it one day after hours in the central office wing, and it was kind of throughout the whole building. It was localized in certain areas after a while, specifically in certain rooms in the math wing, and especially in the social studies wing, and now that problem's been resolved.
Did community resources meet?
We did. And there's a couple items here that we discussed. The district website is all up to date and done. Now it's just a process of continuing to manage it and update it in the days, months, and years ahead. The Verona magazine has been published. 50 hard copies were made, compliments of VFI, and they are being handed out to local businesses in town. Negotiations are ongoing with the aides. We've had 2 meetings thus far. The Action Committee on Code of Conduct and Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, one has met and one is meeting this week. Progress continues on the field, and we had our B&G at 6:15. That's on here too. But that's it for community resources. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. So the meeting this Thursday is the Committee on Mental Health. I will not be able to be there. I was at the meeting this past Thursday, but tomorrow is December 14th. It is the anniversary of Sandy Hook. And I have some information that I will pass on to those on the committee from the Sandy Hook Promise, which does a lot of work now speaking out, having to do with mental health as well. So that might be a resource that we can look at in that committee.
Do you have that information? Is it hard copy or digital form?
I have an email that I can forward to you with just some basic information, and there's more to come.
That would be great. This evening, before the board meeting, before B&G, we sent an email out to the committee members with a summary of our programs and the agenda for Thursday. So if you can send that off to me tomorrow, then I could actually add it to...
Absolutely. I'll send it to you tonight, right after
Okay.
we're done here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other discussion items?
The only thing that I'd like to do is thank Joe Higgins for videotaping our board meetings. He has a conflict starting this January, so he won't be able to do it anymore.
He's not there.
I don't know if Joe's back there or not.
I see the right hand. I assume the rest of you still text that hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very reliable. Thank you, Joe, for
You're
everything.
welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Do we have someone else who's going to do it?
No, we're going to post it tomorrow,
Okay.
and then we'll see what we got.
Okay, let's do resolutions.
Resolved that the board approve resolutions number 1 through number 16 and tabling resolution number 12. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Fresky, seconded by Ms. Bernardino. Any questions or comments? I do want to thank Mr. Miller and Miller family for the donation of the grand piano to the high school. Let's call it off.
Mr. Day?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernadino?
Aye.
Mrs. Kresge? Aye. Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattrochi?
Aye.
And then I just have one more, the addendum.
Mhm.
That the board approve addendum resolution number 1, which is a personnel resolution. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Fresky and seconded by Mr. Yunus. Any questions? Okay, let's call roll on the addendum.
Mr. Day?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernadino?
Aye.
Mrs. Kresge? Aye. Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattrochi?
Aye. Okay, so that concludes the board business tonight. I do want to take a minute and thank Mr. Yunus for his 7.5 to 8 years, depending on how you count a year on the Board of Ed. Michael started in 2009, and to show you how long 8 years is, he started as a bachelor. We watched him progress through a marriage, become a husband, and now proud father. And in that time, I think you served on every subcommittee that the board's had. You've been impactful on all of the massive changes that we've tried to get into the district, constant improvement around curriculum, renovations, and of course a number of contract negotiations as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out that it's been a pleasure to have you. I learned a long time ago a saying that I never thought I'd be old enough to say, and that's that there's nothing funnier sometimes to an older man than a younger man with an idea. But you proved that wrong, so thank you very much for that. And I wish you all the best. I'm sure you're going to remain a socially conscious member of society.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Sorry. I'm gonna miss you guys. Everyone, I mean, the community.
You're not leaving. You're still
Yeah.
gonna be
You're
here.
here. You'll just be sitting on that side, right?
You can't have, and you can't have second thoughts now.
I know, honestly, I've been thinking for a long time, like, what to say, I've been here for 29 years in Verona, and 7 or 8, depending on how you count it, right, in 4 years. And the only thing that came to mind was something that Russell had said to me right before his untimely passing. He used to be a teacher here. It's my wife calling. That's ironic. A little too early. I'm not yet family and career focused. Got a couple more minutes. We were talking about becoming a teacher, and that in itself is a challenge. And he said, everything you have, you already have everything you need to impact and improve the lives of those who you seek to serve. And I think what he was trying to say was that excellence comes from within. And if there's anything that this board and this community has taught me, is that it's not about trying to find excellence out there and bringing it out to yourself, but reaching deep down and bringing that out to serve those around you. So thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good enough.
Thank you for your service.
Okay. Our next meeting is, as we said, January 3rd. That will be our reorganization meeting, so that will be led off by the swearing in of Glenn Elliott back to the board, and a round, overtime round for Mr. Day. And with that, have a great holiday, and see you then.